Testing 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Go ahead if you can hear me. Let me know in the chat. Okay, so far so good. Each of you do me a favor, and if you can't find the group chat window just yet, there should be a setting to navigate to. What we'll do is, since it's such a large group of us tonight, I went ahead and I muted pretty much everyone in the room. So my preferred method of you guys to communicate and to jump in is I want you to find the chat and just jump in directly. And if you see me kind of glancing off to the right like this or the left, depending if it's flipped or not, I do have a dual monitor setup. So what I'm doing is I've got the entire chat on one monitor, and then I've got the slides and the presentation that we're going to go over on the front. So go ahead and send a test message in the chat if you haven't already. And is everyone able to see the chat? Can everyone see? It should just about be public. Let me know in the chat. Can everyone see the group chat? Can you see the messages that everyone else are typing? So Alam said yes, Beatrice said yes, Saffron, Selena, Sue, good. Let's see, it looks like Zachary Lee, it looks like you are sending it privately. Try to switch over to, see if there's a send to all or send to room message. Good, good, good. So can you guys also, just a quick question to go ahead and answer in the chat. Can you guys see both my face, my video, and can you see the presentation, or is it just my video? So Lee said, I can see you, but I'm working on the audio. Good. Selena said both. Zachary said yes, video and face. Good. Sue said both. Very good. Zach J said just presentation. Okay, so it seems like most of you can see both the presentation and the video. That's good. So what we'll do, I'll go ahead, I'll do a really short introduction and then we'll get underway. Looks like we've got a good group size. And also right now the settings, anyone can turn their video on. Please go ahead and just make sure that you keep it off. That way it's not a distraction to other students. I will take the liberty to take it off. A lot of group sessions, a lot of like one-on-one sessions and tutoring sessions, I typically encourage live audio and live video from the participants. That way it helps me gauge your reaction. I know when to stop, but we've got, there's going to be at least 20 or 30 of us tonight. Right now there's a total of 25. So please keep the audio and the video off. If you turn it on accidentally, that's okay too. But let's just try to be mindful of everyone going on in, of everyone participating. So to kick it off, as most of you know, I'm not a fan of presenting, right? I'm not a fan of slides and using slide decks. Just about everything I do it with a graphics tablet. That way it's kind of like you can follow along live with me. Now, for this very particular webinar, so our weekly classes, we're going to kick it off talking about strategy, because I think that's the most important aspect this close to the exam. And to do that, I did prepare a slide deck. So I promise this is one of the few and only times you will ever see me doing a presentation with just slides. But I've got it. It should be fun. I've got some pictures. And what I want you to do to make it as interactive as possible, I'm going to be asking questions along the way. I hope that everyone participates by jumping in the chat. You're going to hear me. I'm going to say, feel free to tell me in the chat or jump right on in. This shouldn't be just a one-way presentation, right? This isn't a TV show. This is definitely a live audience participation event. So I encourage everyone, please don't be shy. I should be the only one on video. Don't be shy, jump in the chat. It lets me know what to talk about more. It helps me answer questions, and it just makes it kind of fun for all of us. And reading the chat, it looks like Saurabh, no video. You should be able to see both my face and the presentation. When I do start the presentation, I will go off video. That way it's not a distraction. And then I'll hop on video once more at the very end. So it looks like we are at about 27 people. So we are going to get underway. Just a very quick disclaimer. I did send it out in the notes, but in case anyone didn't read them, this is being filmed and recorded. So I will post it in the course probably tonight or tomorrow so that you can rewatch it. And for all the people that couldn't make it tonight, please don't post anything you wouldn't feel comfortable a stranger knowing about yourself, right? No personal information, please, anything like that. You'll notice your names pop up. Should just be your first name. Some of you did register with your last name too, but just a quick reminder, this is being recorded so that you have the expectations that pretty much the general public will see it at a later date and later time. So please, no personal information. And if you're not comfortable about something, you can always just send me an email privately after the show. Okay, that's about it. I'm going to see if I can figure out how to disable my video here, and then we will get underway. Okay, good. So can everyone see where it just says how to beat the electrical PE exam with instructor Zach Stone, the live webinar? Go ahead, let me know in the chat. It should be loud and clear, good quality. Everyone see it okay? Great. Lots of good participation. Okay, so we'll get underway. So quick introduction. So Sarab, I'm still not sure why you're not seeing it. Check around the settings. If you're on a Mac or PC, there should be a toolbar up top. Maybe you accidentally minimized a window. I've got a separate group chat and the second window for the slide deck. So it might just be hiding around a different window. All right, so quick introduction. The name of this webinar is How to Beat the Electrical Power PE Exam, right? There's so many different things we can be focusing on. We want to make sure we're focusing on the very most fundamental and important aspects, right? We want to make sure we're not doing anything to waste our time. We want to make sure we're not doing anything that's counterproductive, right? That might thwart our efforts. We want to do everything in our power, obviously, to get a high passing score because we want to put in the hard work. We want to pass, and then we want to move on with our lives, right? We want to get that license and then carry on. So quick questions. Go ahead, let me know in the chat. Is this your first time taking the PE exam? Go ahead and say yes. If it's not, let me know how many times. Maybe this is your second, third, fourth attempt. So I'm seeing a lot of yeses so far. One no from Selena. Selena, how many times have you taken it before, if you don't mind sharing? Omar said this is his second time. Selena also said it was her second time. Bernie looks like second time as well. Okay, so the majority of us, it sounds like it's a repeat. We do have a lot of first-time takers as well. I'm interested first in hearing from the people that it's their first time. So everyone that's taken it before, just hang out for 1 second. Everyone that's taken it for the first time, go ahead and let me know. I'm curious. I want to know what you think are the most important keys to passing. Go ahead and write that in the chat. Let me know, and all the others that have also taken it before, all you first-timers, let's get some ideas of what we think are the most important keys to passing. So Raymond said practice. Absolutely, I agree with you. ZL said time management. Jonathan Zisco said hours, problems. I agree with Jonathan 100%. A lot of what we're going to talk about today is pretty much just pure grit and not taking any shortcuts. I'm guessing that's Cynthia, said organize references. That's absolutely a key. Beatrice, time management practice. Tony said to understand the problem. So these are all great things. How about, let me know, what are some things that you think would hurt us or thwart our efforts or maybe put us at a disadvantage? Or what are some things, go ahead, let me know in the chat. What are some things that we shouldn't be doing, or some things that would lead us down the wrong path? Any ideas? Maybe not practicing enough, maybe not putting enough time. Mary said not understanding what the question is asking. Absolutely. Julia, studying the wrong topic. Definitely. Jonathan, tired after work, not sticking to schedule. Again, Jonathan, you are on top of it so far. I agree with you 100%. ZL said dwelling on one topic. Yes, absolutely. I'm glad you brought that up. That's one of the keys that we're going to address. Omar said more practice. So probably means not enough practice, since we were talking about unsuccessful things. Now, how about, and go ahead, all of you that have taken it before, feel free to jump on in now. So everyone in the participation room, let me know what are some of the topics that you think are the most difficult. And this is going to be a personal answer, as far as maybe transformers are your Achilles heel, maybe transmission line, maybe some of you that don't work in code, maybe the NEC. Let me know what are some of the things that maybe caught you off guard if you've taken it before, or just those topics from problems you find yourself getting wrong no matter how much time you put into it. So I'm saying motors, generators, machines, fault current calculations, machines, electronics. Someone said, first time on a webinar, I will get it. Ali said qualitative and conceptual. Okay, I agree with you there. Jonathan, protection and motors. Mary, machines. Tony, NEC. And ALAM said motors. Okay. you'll notice that. And if we have enough time, so I think on the calendar invite, I said about 2 hours, depending on how much energy everyone and myself has. What I'd like to do at the very end, I've got the NCES exam specs pulled up on a PDF. And what I'd like to do is go through that, and one by one, we'll briefly talk about each topic. And I'm going to give you my impression of some of the more important aspects of each one to really have an advantage, because some tend to be more qualitative, some tend to be more quantitative, some are more basic, and others go into much more depth. So you'll notice, the reason why I asked that first is you'll notice there was a little bit of a consistency in the group chat, and some chapters tend to, as a whole, challenge us a lot more as engineers in total. Rotating machines comes up quite a bit because most engineering jobs tend to be in design. And when we're doing design, a lot of times we're not going to be exposed to rotating machines as much as, say, if we had a field job or a plant job or industrial job. So a lot of those are tough with conceptual questions, where solving them is pretty easy as long as we know how to approach them. And it's just by the pure numbers, a lot of us just don't have a lot of hands-on experience. So you'll see a lot of similarities. Now, this is probably one of my favorite aspects is go ahead and first time takers, repeat takers, just about everyone, let me know. It's going to be a little different than the last question, but what topics do you think result in the most incorrect answers? So that's kind of a trick question. So what topics do you think result in just about everyone getting the highest number of problems wrong? So kind of a trick question. That could be like the code, or that could be not necessarily a topic, but some fundamental aspect that keys multiple topics together. So I'm seeing maybe protection and NEC. Anyone else? Someone said per unit. Okay, great. That's more along the lines of what I'm looking for. I'm looking for maybe those tricky math fundamentals that might be new to us. A lot of us, it's been a while since we've been in school. Daryl said motor theory. I agree with you. Mary said three-phase versus single-phase. Absolutely. So Mary hit the very first one is, in my opinion, three-phase versus single-phase, right? That pretty much spans just about every single topic. And those formulas, right, they're very easy to use. Now, the hard thing is knowing which formula to pick, right? Making sure we get the right value. So, Mary, I agree with you absolutely, and that's a fantastic observation. Zach J said, circuit analysis fundamentals, 100%. That's another one of the answers I'm looking for, where it's not a specific topic per se, but it's an aspect about solving electrical engineering problems that tends to bleed through just about every topic, to where if we don't have a solid fundamental understanding, it doesn't matter how good we are in the general topic, right? We might not get it right. So Arturo, it looks like you may have accidentally turned on your camera. I'm going to go ahead and find you in the chat, and I will disable it for you. Stop video. There we go. And then Raymond said radians versus degrees, 100%. That's another great one, especially I'm going to even expand more on that. I'm going to go ahead and even say phasor diagrams, right? Phasor diagrams apply just to about everything. Anytime we have a complex phasor value, and if we can't make our way heads or tails on a phasor diagram, chances are we're going to have a hard time with a lot of other aspects of the exam. Lee said leading versus lagging, 100%. Another one of the answers I was looking for. And Omar said protection. So maybe some of you are wondering, why am I asking you this? Well, the reason why I'm asking this is because there's two, when we talk about covering our weaknesses and our weak areas, there's two things we need to focus on, right? One are our Achilles heel. Our weaker subjects tends to be more of a personal answer, right? Maybe some people are great with code, but terrible with transmission lines, or great with, say, circuit analysis, but really weak in instrumentation. So we also, not only do we have to focus on our weaker areas, we also have to focus on those fundamental, just the mechanics of solving the problems themselves, right? The single phase versus three phase, radians versus degrees, leading versus lagging, right? All that good kind of stuff. Now, what else? What else can we talk about on the introduction? So here's another question, and this is the last question on the introduction slide before we start to move forward. Who here feels like either they're prepared for the exam day, or who here feels like by the time the exam comes around at the end of April, that they will be prepared? Go ahead, let me know in the chat. If you have any doubts too, that's fine. Feel free to express that too. Maybe you're unsure, maybe you're not seeing the light at the end of the tunnel just yet, and you're hoping you will by the time the exam comes around, but maybe it's your first time and you still just don't feel that way. Bernie said about 80%. That's good. That's a healthy percentage. Someone says, Ali says, beginning to see the light. Good. Very good. Sue said, taking it in October, not ready yet. So, Sue, I guess it's a good thing that you still got plenty of time left. It's probably not a luxury that a lot of people have in this room that are taking the April exam. Alex said, I have my hopes up. Julia said also in October. Mary said, hope I will be ready by April. Beatrice, feeling hopeful. Denial, hope I said your name right, said, looking at October, still lots to practice. And Kahina, should be ready. Tony, I feel I'm maybe be ready by April. Omar, ready by April. Good. So that's good. Someone said, I never feel completely ready before tests. That's actually how I feel a lot too. So if anyone that's taking the April exam said, I'm 100% ready, I could take it tomorrow, chances are I might have my doubts about you. By this time around, you should be feeling around the 70 to 80% confidence rate, to where it's okay if you still have a little bit of doubts. And in some aspects, I think that's actually healthy, because if you're not 100% sure just yet, what it's going to do is that it's going to increase that sense of urgency, right? It's going to kind of make us step on the gas and not take any of the remaining time left for granted that we have. So that's a really good thing too. I'm glad to see all the answers so far. All right, who's ready for the next slide? You guys said me. All right. The number one thing, I think I skipped one. Yep. Okay. So in my opinion, right, this comes from my personal experience passing both the FE and PE exam on the first try. And more importantly, this comes from speaking with hundreds of electrical engineers every exam cycle for about the past 3 years. So some of you have been with me for a little longer than others. I've been running the Electrical PE Review website since about October 2014. Just about at the end of every exam cycle, I like to do kind of a debrief, with each one of the students, I like to make sure that what I'm doing is effective. So you may not agree with all of this 100%, but please, I urge you to take it into consideration, okay? A lot of this is going to come straight from the horse's mouth, so to speak. So especially you first-time takers, where you might not know what to expect, the majority of what we're going to talk about tonight is coming straight from the people, straight from the exam takers right after taking the test. So first-time takers, this is maybe a way to get a glimpse in the future, maybe give you a little bit of foresight. And you repeat takers who haven't been successful yet, this is a way that you can leverage some of the strategies from students that either passed the first time or were in a similar boat as you and finally figured out their gaps, nailed them down, and also passed. So please, please keep all this in mind. And like I said, if you do end up having any more questions about this, I really would be happy to talk about anything more in depth afterwards, since we only have maybe about an hour or 2 hours tonight. So in my opinion, dealing with hundreds of electrical engineers every single exam cycle, there are 4 keys that unlock passing about 9 times out of 10. So if you've ever heard kind of the metaphor of taking care of the big rocks first, right? How many of you in the chat have ever seen that? I think it's a Stephen Covey metaphor, where they have a big jar, and next to the jar, they've got like a pile of sand, a pile of pebbles, and a pile of really large rocks. And it's a really neat demonstration. It's on YouTube. If you haven't seen it, I highly encourage you to take a look. But essentially, the only way to fit all of those objects in the jar is by putting the really heavy rocks in first, and then putting the pebbles, and then dumping in the rest of the sand, right? If we take care of the most important things first, followed by the second most important things second, and we prioritize our way down, chances are we're going to be in a tremendously better position than if we're just all over the place scrambling, or if we're not prioritizing at all. So these 4 keys, what they do in my mind is unlock how to pass the exam. And they're listed from 1 to 4. 1 being the most important, or the big rock, 2 being the second, 3 being the third, and 4 being the fourth, right? From top to bottom, these are the most important things. And these are the 4 things that we will be talking about tonight. So the first is your mindset. The second is the number of hours you put in, right? Like someone said in the chat, hours, 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 problems, problems, problems. The third is what you do during those hours. And the fourth is how you take the exam. You'll notice there is no we and there is no I. When I first wrote up the slide, I used our mindset, the number of hours we put in, but I went back and I changed that to you. And the reason why, this is a very personal experience. Each of you are probably embarking on one of the most difficult testing journeys of your professional careers. So keep in mind, we can do all the strategizing we want together. We can do as much practice together, but ultimately passing or failing, right, it's going to end up on you. It's going to end up on your shoulders. Ultimately, you take the full responsibility. So it's very important. Okay, how about enough of that? Let's go ahead and talk about the first key to passing, and that's your mindset. Kahina said, are you in the second slide? I don't see it. Yep, we just started the beginning of the fourth slide. If you can't see the presentation, look around the toolbar or make sure it's not hiding somewhere between. Make sure you have it enabled. So the first key is called mindsets and beliefs. You'll notice a lot of what we talk about tonight might not have anything to do with electrical power, but it's all of the abstract ideas that help us pass. So Kahina, I think you just accidentally turned on your video. I'm going to go ahead and stop it for you. Okay, mindsets and beliefs. So here's another great time. I'd like all of you to participate. The very first question I have for each and every one of you, go ahead, let me know in the chat. Give me an example of some unsuccessful mindsets and beliefs. And if you're not sure just yet, that's okay too. But who can give me an example of an unsuccessful mindset and belief, either relating to studying or just really related to success and achievement in general? So Zach Shepard said, can't do it. Yep, maybe a belief that you can't do something, right? Because that would mean we're not even going to try from the beginning. Ali said negativity. Tony said, I will not be ready in April. Exactly. Who else? I agree with you guys 100% so far. Who else? So that's 3 out of 35 of us now. Selena said, I'm going to fail. Yep. Julia being frantic. Absolutely. Alam said stress. Arturo thinking too much material. Zach J, I've got plenty of time to study. I can do it later. Zach J, fantastic. Jonathan said, started studying a little late. I can totally catch up. Yep, classic, maybe college procrastinator mindset right there. Zach Shepard said excuses. Raymond said overconfidence. Exactly. So you guys have it nailed on the head. Now, Kahina also said, how about tomorrow? Exactly. What's that quote? Don't put off tomorrow what can be done today. Perfect. So maybe just because these aren't directly related to electrical engineering, they're related to the science of success and achievement as a whole, right? And regardless of our industry, right now, we all have quite an ambitious goal of passing this extremely tough exam. So if we don't have the right mindsets and beliefs, it doesn't matter, right? Because we're going to essentially be self-sabotaging ourselves before we even have a chance to even try. Now, how about some positivity? Let's contrast that and compare it to who can give me some examples of successful mindsets and beliefs. Go ahead and let me know in the chat. Who can give me some examples of successful mindsets and beliefs? Maybe positive self-thoughts, maybe some positive affirmations, maybe those pep talks you give yourself or a coworker gives you or your spouse gives you. So Zach Shepard said, I got this, definitely. Beatrice said, I can do it. Kahina also said, I can do it. Ali said, one problem at a time. That's a great one, Ali, right? It stops us from getting overwhelmed. Zach J said, if I put in the time and effort, I will pass the exam. Yep. Very, very confident, straightforward approach. Jack Shepard, same thing, just keep swimming. Yep. Just like the one problem at a time. Omar said, I will succeed. Tony said, I have to study every night, even if it's just 1 hour. That's a really good example, Tony. Great. So you guys are getting this perfectly. Now, here's more of a question to make you think. Why do you guys think we all have these different beliefs and mindsets? Why is it that some of us naturally have a very positive can-do attitude, whereas some of us, maybe we don't? We have a very unsure attitude. And then somewhere in the middle, some of us have just a very neutral, mindset where we kind of think, show me a little bit of proof and I'll know what direction to believe in. So go ahead, let me know in the chat. Why do some of us need really strong proof before we can even try? And why are there some of us that are just ready to do a leap of faith and they're ready to take that first jump maybe before they can even see the bottom? Raymond said, excuse me. Raymond said past experiences. Yep. That's a great one. Anyone else? Anyone else besides Raymond? Personality differences? Sure. Who else? Who else besides Raymond and Cynthia? Who else can let us know why it is that some of us have different beliefs? Self-image, 100%, Zach. Someone said PE license is the key for success. True, in our career, I'll agree with that. Kahina, perceptions, yep, different perceptions. Sue said repeatedly been told you can't or can do it. Yes, that's a big one. So you'll notice there's a common underlying thread between all of this. Someone else said pressure from work life plus PE. Yep. Maybe some of us are more overwhelmed than others. Maybe we have more career priorities going on. It's making it harder to juggle. So let's think about for a moment the underlying thread that ties this all together. You'll notice that some of us have a past history of success in just about every area we set out in. And some of us, unfortunately, maybe don't. And maybe some of us in the middle, we're about 50-50. So what these do is they start to set up what's known as limiting beliefs, right? Based off past performance, based off past experiences, based off repeatedly being told or put down versus supported and nurtured maybe by our primary caretakers. So a lot of this is fundamental to pretty much who we are as a person. And you'll notice that a lot of times passing just a test, right? Coming back to the PE exam, it's all about our mindsets. It's all about, do we think we can do it? Do we need 100% proof before we put forth maximum effort? And the great thing about this is it's totally superficial, right? What do I mean by that? Well, if we have a really negative mindset, so there's about 37 participants right now on this webinar. I guarantee there's at least maybe a handful of you that don't feel too good about taking the PE exam just yet, right? Maybe just you haven't seen the proof yet. Maybe you've taken it once, twice, even 3 times before, and those past experiences are starting to kind of paint a picture for us and lead us to believe that, maybe I can't pass this. Maybe this isn't in the cards for me. Well, the good news is these limiting mindsets or these beliefs are 100% up to us in terms of what we believe and what we do not believe. So the most important thing, right, coming back to beliefs and mindsets, is if you don't have a positive, reaffirming, persistent belief, the good news is you can definitely change that. All of you are clearly successful, right? All of you have all of the prerequisites to take the exam. All of you have an engineering degree from an ABET accredited college. All of you passed the FE exam. All of you have at least 4 years of experience, probably more, and a glowing list of references and experience speaking on your character. So all of us are successful. All of us are completely capable of passing this exam. Now, how do we change our mindsets and beliefs? This is where I need some help from you guys. Go ahead, let me know in the chat. If someone has, and we'll just focus on shifting a negative limiting mindset and belief to a positive one. What are some of the actual mechanisms that we can use to change these mindsets and beliefs? Zach said, same way you eat an elephant, one bite at a time. Amen. I agree with you 100%. Anyone else? How do we change these beliefs? Sue said, align yourself with people who support you and get the job done. Absolutely right. What's that saying? You are who you surround yourself with. So maybe if you're having a hard time getting a positive belief, you might notice that a lot of the people in your immediate life and your support roles, they might be negative people too. Gaina said, feel achievements. Yeah. Maybe celebrate your successes. Ali said, if at first you don't succeed, try again. Absolutely. What else? Jonathan said, positive experiences with effort to convince yourself that you're actually better than you think. Bingo. Man, Jonathan, if I had any prizes to give away, I think that's about the third you've stolen right out from underneath me. So Jonathan hit something that I want to expand on. Okay. Our mindsets and our beliefs, regardless of what we're trying to do, they're essentially tied into the proof and patterns that no big deal. Yeah, right. They're essentially tied into the proof and the patterns that we have established throughout our lives from infancy. So the good news is all you have to do to shift that mindset, either the mindset of I'm not sure to, okay, maybe I got this, or the mindset of I think I got this to I know I'm going to pass, or I know I feel real good about this, right? The only thing we have to do, we have to show ourselves proof. We have to convince our stubborn subconscious brain that, hey, I got this. And how do we do that? Well, as you start taking practice problems, right? Take score, keep score. You should notice, I'm sure all of you are, someone said speak it into existence. I'm not sure if you're talking about the law of attraction or what, but all of you should notice, I'm sure everyone in here is doing way better than when they first started. Someone said, this is my second attempt. I went in the first time being okay either way. That helped being relaxed throughout. Though disappointed, it has helped getting better prepared this time, and with any future attempts, if I need to, just freak out. Exactly. So who here in the chat, by a show of hands, you can say yes or no, right? Who here is doing way better, light years ahead in terms of how many questions they're getting right on their practice problems compared to the very first time they opened that book? Who here has experienced that? Maybe the first time. I know the first time I opened the NCES practice exam, I think it was when I submitted my application. I opened that book, and I'm a decent test taker, and I opened that book. I think I spent a week on the first 3 problems, and I was thinking, oh my God, what have I gotten myself into? What have I done? Then about halfway through, I was like, wow, I'm starting to see the faint light at the end of the tunnel. And then towards closer to the exam, I was really rocking and rolling. So that's one way we can show our subconscious self, we can prove, right? We can prove that we can do this. We can look at the improvement over time and know that by the time the PE exam gets here, we're going to be even better than we are now. So that's really important. For those of you that might not be sure or you're on the fence, the first thing is to understand that your belief and your mindset is the number one key that will either allow you to pass or will end up self-sabotaging you to fail. So the first key is to recognize that. The second key is to understand that you are entirely allowed and able to change your mindset and belief. And the third is to show yourself proof. And you'll literally feel that weight rolling off your shoulders, and you're going to feel better. Your confidence is going to improve. Your willingness to study is going to increase. You're going to start looking forward to studying because you're going to see more and more of that proof. It's almost like you're going to start getting addicted to that positive proof to where you're going to want it more and more and more. So this, of course, not only applies to the PE exam, but this applies in a large amount just about to anything we want to do in our life. Okay, enough of that. Let's move on. So we got this really scary looking picture on the left on purpose. I picked just about the most jarring picture I could find because I want to associate what I call the quote unsuccessful student mindset, right? I want to associate that with you, with something that you do not want. So I'm going to talk for a little bit about what I call the unsuccessful student mindset. This is after doing a debrief with students at the end of each exam. These are all the reoccurring patterns that everyone that wasn't successful, these are kind of the things that I found, right? So their core mindsets and beliefs, they didn't want to study any more than they had to. So what do they risk? When you're only studying just as much as you think you have to, and first of all, no one knows how much you need to study, and don't listen to anyone that says you need 300 hours or I only did it in 100 hours, that's all you need. Don't listen to anyone that says that. This is such a personal experience for all of us, right? Our math background is going to be like comparing a hill to Mount Everest. Some of us are going to be math whizzes. Some of us are going to be learning how to use a calculator. for the first time in years. Some of us have just that tactical industry hands-on experience that makes them a ninja when it comes to answering theory questions. So the unsuccessful student says in their mind, you know what? My favorite episode of House of Cards, or my favorite episode of that new show I'm hooked on is on, or, you know, I'd really just rather go on date night right now with my spouse or with that person I'm seeing, or I just want to play with the kids. I think I can get away with it, you know? So they don't want to study any more than they have to. And the risk they're taking when they do that is they're risking not passing, right? Think about how silly this is. A few months down the road, when you get your score, do you think you're not going to feel it anymore? You know what I mean? You're not going to remember all the extra time you put in. Sure, you're going to know you missed a couple of social events, but all you care about is that PASS or FAIL, right? You don't care about anything else. So they're actually risking. They're risking failing the exam just so they can study just as much as they think they need to. If you think how ridiculous that is. Next is they don't necessarily believe that passing or failing is up to them, right? That goes back to our mindsets and beliefs. They think that, you know what, they have the take what they can get attitude, which is the next bullet. They just think that, you know what, maybe I'll pass, maybe I'll fail. I'll put in some time here, I'll put in some time there. Whichever way the wind blows is the direction that my sailboat is going to go, right? They just think it's largely not up to them. They don't feel in control, or they don't care enough to take the responsibility, right? Because then, hey, if they don't pass, if they fail, well, it really wasn't up to me, right? Maybe it just wasn't in the cards. Maybe I'm not meant to have my license. Maybe I'm just not that good at math, which we know is just BS. And last, these mindsets of the unsuccessful student makes up a large portion of the students that fail and retake. So maybe some of you in the chat who have taken the exam before, I'm sure by now you may be thinking about your past experiences. I hope that everyone that's retaking it, I hope that there's something you get away from tonight that gives you a light bulb moment that goes, aha, you know what? If I'm being 100% honest with myself, I was kind of doing that last time. And maybe that is why I didn't do as well as I could have. All right, let's go back to positive. Let's go back to positive, right? Let's get out of that negative ditch. So the successful student mindset, core beliefs, core mindsets. Again, these come from my personal experiences, and more importantly, these come from interviewing and debriefing the students from the PE review class that pass it. Now, most important thing, they over-prepare on purpose. Rule number 1. So at the risk of putting in extra effort that they maybe didn't need to in hindsight, which you can only know after the exam, after you pass, at the risk of skipping a couple of date nights, of skipping that latest Netflix rerun or episode, they over prepare on purpose, right? They go into the exam ready to roll, and they are looking for getting that letter in the mail that says they passed. They're not going to care at the end if they pass, if they get their license. Do you think they're going to care if they put in 5 extra hours, 10 extra hours, 20 extra hours, 30 extra hours? Of course not, right? All they care about is that they passed. That's one of the most important realizations of the successful student mindset that so many people had in common that passed. Next, they fundamentally understand, which is very different than just intellectually knowing. They fundamentally understand in the core of their being that passing or failing is 100% up to them. That means they know that when they get that letter and they open it, no one else is responsible for those results other than themselves, other than what they did or did not do. They do not have the take what I can get mentality. They do not have the, well, maybe, so I don't know. They know 100%. It's entirely up to them, and they take full responsibility for passing or failing. Next, these are the type of people that they have a go after what they want with an all or nothing mentality. That means that age-old saying, what is it? There is no try, right? It's do or do not. So this is something they're going to go all in on. They're going to commit. They're going to put the foot on the gas, or they're not going to do it at all. So this makes up a large portion of students that pass. Just about every one of these bullet points came straight from the mouth of every student that passed that I've spoken to in the last couple of years. So really think about that and put that in perspective.
Who likes that picture? I thought a guy with the lightning bolts coming out of his hands would be a little relevant. All right, next slide. Now, I want you to think about, what is your mindset? Think about, which category do you fall in? Maybe you already have that tremendously headstrong, successful student mindset. Maybe just now you're realizing that, oh, darn, I have the unsuccessful student mindset. I've got the limiting beliefs that others who have taken the exam before me had, and they didn't pass. So I really want you to take a hard look in the mirror, and don't be shy with yourself. Be honest, right? This is for you and you alone. So there's no need not to be honest with yourself. The more honest you can be, the more successful you're going to be, not just for the PE exam, but just in life in general. Next, it doesn't matter if you already have the successful student mindset. What can you do to adopt the successful student mindset? Go ahead. Here's a good time to get some engagement. Go ahead, jump in the chat. Let me know, regardless of where you are on the spectrum of the unsuccessful versus successful student mindset, what are some things everyone right now can do starting today? What are some things everyone can do right now starting today to help adopt the successful student mindset? Go ahead, let me know in the chat. And this is something we talked about a little bit. Zach Shepard said, act as if. Absolutely. Act as if. Who else? Who else has some good ideas? Someone says, breathe when things get rough, for sure. Maybe don't let yourself get overwhelmed. Maybe if you let yourself get overwhelmed, you're just going to maybe throw in the towel a little earlier than you should have. Kahina said, don't feel alone. Absolutely. So does everyone know, I'm glad you saw the Kahina, does everyone know there's a discussion board inside the electropereview.com website? In fact, I just installed the one that it's even more user-friendly and it's easier to use. Don't feel alone. Everyone is more than welcome to post in that. There's also different, I think the engineering boards is a great place. I think some of you even found this website through there. If you haven't, it's a great place to go. I think it's engineerboards.com. Don't feel alone. Calling other people that have taken the exam, talk to the support people in your life. Shoot me an email. I'm never going to turn anyone down. Sometimes it takes me a day or two to get to some more of the tougher questions that I get on theory and practice problems, but I answer emails all the time from people just saying, hey, do I have my head in the sand, or am I going in with the right ideas or beliefs, or should I be feeling this beat up? Actually looking at the participant window and the number of you in here out of the 35 that are, I've actually emailed quite a few of you personally one-on-one, just talking about motivation and strategy. So yeah, Gina, fantastic. Don't feel alone. No one in here has to feel alone. Now, what else? What other ways can we adopt the successful student mindset? So I will say, show yourself proof. Show yourself proof. Go back to the very first thing you worked on. I bet that thing looks like chicken scratch. I bet you have pen marks, highlight, question marks all over the place. Take the time to really think about how far you've come. Show yourself that proof. Show yourself you're trending in the right direction, right? Think about what would make me more excited or interested to put in an extra 4 hours this weekend. Mary said, say, yes, I can do it, and spend the remaining time putting in the extra hours. Yep, right, exactly. Right on the money once again. Saying the yes, I can do it attitude. For you coffee drinkers in the room like myself, I don't know about you, but sometimes when I'm just not feeling good, just getting up, walking around, getting that second cup of coffee really helps for those of you that like to exercise too. Now, let's talk about the third bullet point is, what are the outcomes you would rather have? So with both the unsuccessful student mindset and the successful student mindset, they have opposite outcomes and opposite risks. It's a risk versus reward outcome. The unsuccessful student, chances are the outcome is he's going to be unsuccessful. He's going to risk, he or she, is going to risk not passing the exam at the outcome of only studying as much as they think, keyword, as they think they need to, right? So to the unsuccessful student, The more important thing isn't passing or failing. The more important thing is having as much as their free time as they can, and maybe not confronting some more of those uncomfortable, negative, limiting beliefs and mindsets. Now, let's compare that to the successful student mindset. What are the risk and the outcome? The successful student mindset, he risks over preparing, over studying, but what's the outcome? Chances are he or she's going to pass the exam. Unsuccessful student or successful student, when that letter comes in the mail, do you think either really cares at that point about any extra time they put in? No, right? And who really ends up putting in more time in the long run? Would you rather take the exam with an all or nothing approach the first time, or maybe even if it's your second attempt, pass it, get your license, add PE to your name on your signature, maybe get that promotion, get that raise, start working on that new exciting project you've been wanting, essentially get it and move on, right? Put in the time, get the reward and move on with your life. Or would you rather, half-ass, if you excuse my language, half-ass preparing for the exam and then have to do it all over again, right? So really think about what are the outcomes you would rather have. Next is, which of the risks would you rather gamble with, right? We kind of already touched on this. What risk do you want to gamble with? Do you want to risk either over preparing or under preparing, or do you want to risk passing or failing? I think everyone in this room would rather risk putting in extra time and effort and getting that reward. So really think about that. Okay, I know that was quite a bit. That was our first key. Don't worry, keys 2, 3, and 4 are going to be nowhere near as long. The reason why we spent so much time on number 1, whoops, went a little too quickly there. Let me back up. So the reason why we spent so much more time on number 1 is because it is by far the most important key of the 4 that we have. So if you're not sure where you need to be spending your time, until you have that successful student mindset, you really need to hammer it in and do all the things we talked about to change it around. All right, number 2, let's talk about the number of hours you put in. And remember, it's not the number of hours we put in, it's the number of hours you put in solo. So number of hours you put in, schedule. Go ahead, let me know in the chat. Here's a good time to get some engagement. What is everyone's schedule like? Go ahead, if you're just only on the weekends or weekends and evenings, 10 hours on the weekend, 3 hours in the evening, any chance you get. Let me know in the chat. What's your study schedule currently like? How many hours are you putting in each day? How many hours are you putting in each month? What's your weekend like? Go ahead, let me know in the chat. Here we go. ZL said 2-hour weekday, no weekends. Yikes. ZL, I strongly encourage you to up that big time. 2 hours during the week and no weekends is already putting you at a tremendous disadvantage. Be very careful. Even ZL, even with a positive mindset and the successful student mindset, if you don't have enough hours, you're not going to have enough time to cover everything. Sue said, any chance I get, bingo. I agree with you. Jonathan said 3 or 4 hours on the weekdays, 10 to 12 hours on each weekends. Bingo. Jonathan, once again, man, I feel like I owe you a scratch off lottery ticket by the time we're done. Craig said 1 to 2 hours a day at this point. Okay, I hope that's at least 7 days a week or 6 days a week. Alvin said 5 days a week, 3 hours each. That's pretty good. Omar, wow, 36 hours a week. Me and Omar did about 3 private webinars together, so I know he's been putting in the time. Catherine said at least an hour a day. Catherine, I would try to an hour or 2 a day during the evening is okay. Not even getting to it every evening, every workday is okay, but each of you, I'm telling you, you really need to be putting in the hours on the weekend. So Arb said 3 hours each weekday and 8 hours on the weekends. That's pretty good. That's definitely a step in the right direction. Patrice said 3-hour evenings, 9-hour weekends. Good job, Patrice. Cynthia said 1 to 2 hour weekdays, 6 to 8 hours on the weekends. Allie said 2-hour weekday, 8-hour weekend. Good, good, good. So far, so good. Who else? Zach Shepard said, just starting out for the October exam, 3 to 4 hours a day during the week, 12 to 14 hours on the weekend. Man, you are a champ. Careful, Zach. Don't let yourself get burned out. You still got plenty of time, but absolutely, if you can study ahead of time, that's definitely the way to go. Daniel said 1 hour each weekend, 8 hours on the weekends. Good. Mary, 1.5 hour weekday and 6 hours each weekend. Good. Julia, 4 hours on Saturday and Sunday. Good. 1 to 2 hours when I can, Monday through Friday. Good. Kahina said 6 hours on weekends and 2 hours a day. Good, Kahina. Arturo said, I will try 1 hour a day and 6 hour weekends. That's pretty good. So I think Sue, out of everyone, had what I would say is the best answer. And really, you guys need to be studying as much as you can, because key number 2, it's really the number of hours we have to put in. So the PE exam, it tends to not be difficult in the level of complexity for each question, right? Believe it or not, each question it's pretty straightforward as long as we know the material. Granted, you're going to have those tricky questions once in a while, but for the most part, you have 6 minutes on average per question. So the difficulty in passing the PE exam doesn't come from doing a problem that has like a bazillion steps. The difficulty comes in there are 45 different subcategories that appear on the PE exam. So the difficulty is covering every base. And the only way you can do that is by really, really putting in the hours. So I would suggest everybody your weekends. I know we like our weekends. I know we all work hard. I know we want to sleep in. But your weekends, especially now, right? We only have, I think, about 6 or 7 weeks left. Your weekends, that's your ace up your sleeve. If you were to think about how long the exam is. The exam, to put it into perspective, is 8 hours long, right? 2 4-hour sessions. So even if you just want to do one practice exam in a day, you're going to need 8 hours, right? Even longer, because you're going to take a break. I strongly encourage every one of you to put as much time in on the weekends, not just Saturday, not just Sunday, but the weekends, plural, both days, Saturday and Sunday. I strongly suggest you doing it as much as possible. So Catherine said, how do I get my 5-year-old to understand this has been my hardest hurdle to get large blocks of time on the weekend? Yeah, that's actually, thank you for bringing that up, because there are some of us that are in a much better position than others. The very best would be single, living alone, no commitments. Next would be married. Next would be married with kids, especially young kids like Catherine. So yeah, I sympathize with you. That's very, very difficult. Maybe reach out to some people that can help you. Maybe grandparents, the kids' grandparents, maybe friends. And I know I'll be upfront honest. I don't have children yet, so I can sympathize, but I'm not in your shoes. So I would say anything that you can do that you're comfortable with, as far as getting free time. I know that's got to tear you in half emotionally, because I mean, that's the most important part of life, right? So Catherine, really anything you can do that you feel comfortable with to get in that free time. And to put a positive spin on it, think about passing the exam, what that's going to mean. Most of all of us, when we pass, our career opportunities increase. So think about what the opportunities for your 5-year-old son, what that means. Maybe 1, 2, 3, even 5, 10 years from now. Think about the future that having the license is going to mean, as far as even your son's future opportunities, right? Not just your own. So maybe that could kind of help you put it in perspective, but that's got to be tough. I wish I had a black and white answer for that, but I don't. Zach Shepard said, Avatar: The Last Airbender on Amazon Prime worked for my daughter. There you go. That's a fantastic suggestion. There we go. I can talk about the PE exam all day, but as far as getting the kids to cooperate, I'm not there yet. So absolutely. Last Airbender on Amazon Prime. Jonathan said, try to get your employer to give you time at work to study. My boss gives me 2 hours a day. That's awesome, Jonathan. Yeah, Catherine and everyone else in that position, maybe talk to them, say, hey, look, right? This isn't an investment just in my career. This is an investment in our company. I'm going to be able to take on the added responsibility. Is there extra time I can have during the day? And you can tell them, look, when I get home, I have kids. I can't just shut them out. I can't pretend that they're not there, because they're the most important thing in my life right now. So yeah, Jonathan, absolutely fantastic suggestion. Catherine said, I told him I could make more money and he gets more toys. Yeah, well, I don't know how well reasoning with a 5-year-old. I don't know if they're at that age yet where they can really respond to reason and logic, but hey, maybe. Jonathan said he does accept the risk of my 6 to 7 hour work days versus 8 to 10, and then study once you put them down. I have to juggle with my 16-month-old. Wow, that's tough too. He said my wife helps a lot. Yeah, really, your spouse, any help you can get. And really quick, by a show of hands, go ahead, type a yes in the chat room. Who here has completed the How to Pass video series? That's the, it was actually one of the first, it was the first content I ever released. You'll notice the videos aren't quite up to par with my current stuff. So yep, seen a lot of yeses in the room. So one of the aspects of that, if you guys remember, it was called getting buy-in. Not only getting buy-in from your boss, your colleagues, and your spouse, but as far as the light at the end of the tunnel, I know what it feels like when you work all day and then you study all night and you study all weekend. I know how lonely it feels. I've been there, done that. I know what it means to work, and I know what it means for the people in your life to start to joke about, wondering where you've been. And it starts with joking, but it's not very fun after that. So one of the things I've learned that's been tremendously helpful, and I wish I had figured this out sooner, and I want to share it with all of you, I hope everyone takes advantage, is plan that special trip. You're already spending a decent amount of money on the PE exam. You work hard. Plan a trip. It doesn't even have to be expensive. Plan a beach getaway. Plan a local lake house getaway. But especially when you have a spouse that's taken on that extra help and support, plan a trip. Tell them. Don't just plan it. Don't talk about book it. Show them that you mean it. Plan a trip, book it, treat them, you know what I mean? And thank them in advance. Even if you don't have kids for them to take care of, this still applies to everyone in the room. If you have a spouse that is starting to even if they support you or not, but it's tough on them too, plan a trip, show them, tell them, print out the tickets. Maybe it's a concert. I really like getaways where you can disconnect and kind of shut the phone and laptop off. Plan it. It doesn't have to be expensive to even mean something. So plan a trip and really show your spouse that you're there for them too. So, and on the plus side, if you have kids, it's going to help them be more willing and accepting of helping out. So what else can we talk? We talked quite a bit on the number of hours we put in. How about, and I won't touch too much on this before moving on. Who in here, go ahead by a show of hands, who in here is actually using a schedule? Who's blocking out time on a calendar, electronic calendar, physical calendar? Who's actually using a schedule? Go ahead, let me know in the chat. Just type yes if you are, type no if you are not. And Jonathan, before we started that, said, I usually take Fridays off to spend time, and I split my study time on the weekend, so I study morning and evening. Yep, helps with the sanity, definitely. So good. It sounds like a lot of you are using a schedule. If you're not doing it already, it really helps to stay committed. How easy is it to say, I'm going to study this weekend. The weekend rolls around. There's a game on TV. You get invited to something fun, or you just want to, kick your feet up and relax. Writing it down, it helps to stay committed. Okay, let's move on to the next slide. So next slide is, so back to the 4 keys. I told you that one wouldn't be as long as the first one. Key number 3. So most important was our mindset, right? Second important, the one we just talked about, the number of hours we put in. Third key to beating the electrical power PE exam is what are we doing during those hours, right? If we don't have the hours, then it doesn't matter. But if we do have the hours to spend, what exactly are we spending the hours on, right? How successful are we being? So who here likes this picture of pushing this rock? I'm sure a lot of you can relate to it. I'm sure at times this is exactly what studying for the PE exam feels like. It feels like we're just pushing, and maybe not getting much, maybe not pushing it very much room. So let's talk about what we are doing during those hours to make us as successful as possible. Go ahead, let me know in the chat who here has already done a full-length practice exam. Doesn't matter if you've done it timed yet or just not, but who here has done a practice exam from start to finish? Go ahead, say yes in the chat if you have. Say no if you haven't. Maybe say, I've got a plan for next weekend. Who here has done it? Who here has not? So, wow, actually seeing more no's than yeses. Okay, that's good. I would kind of expected just about everyone to have done it at least one, not necessarily timed, but so who can tell me in the chat what is the number one practice exam each and every one of you should start with, no questions asked? NCEES, Selena, the first one got it. Bo, you said it bold, but Selena, you definitely beat everyone to the punch. Absolutely. NCEES. Why? Because that is straight from the horse's mouth. Those are the same people that are making the exam. That is the best window into the verbiage, level of complexity, all that good stuff. Okay. Now, there are a lot of good practice exams to choose from. You also notice that every author has their own flavor and variety. And you'll also notice that so in my experience, and I think tons of people have good stuff out there, not just me, but in my personal experience, in my personal opinion, there are a lot of practice exams that are out there. They're good material, but they're dated. They've been out for a while. Yeah, there's revisions, but you just know it's like, wow, they're so different from each other. So keep that in mind. And it's good to not just practice one author's, because it's kind of like seeing the puzzle from all different perspectives. So that's a big help too. Now, when we talk about practice exams, as you get closer to the exam date, what I want you to do when you get closer to the exam date, book a day when you can do a full-length practice exam timed. Cynthia, and for everyone else with kids, see if you can get a sitter or your spouse to watch, or a friend. It's very important that you give yourself a timed exam. I think it's about an hour, if I'm not mistaken, break in between. Maybe it's 45 minutes. But you want to give yourself a trial run of start to finish, not just one session Saturday and the afternoon session Sunday. You really want to do an entire timed practice exam, and it's gonna sting, right? You're gonna be tired, I promise, but it's gonna build that stamina. It's gonna build that momentum. Most of all, it's gonna give you a better idea of what to expect. And that's the most important. You want to go into the exam really knowing what to expect. It doesn't matter how tired you are or exhausted after taking your first practice exam. You don't want to feel that way for the first time when you're taking the exam itself. So Jonathan said, Zach, I respectfully disagree. Since I want that test to be as legit as possible, I take it off the bat. Then the problems lose your weight. I'm holding my NCES until exam April 1st and timing it. The others are practice tests from the other tests. So Jonathan, more than welcome to take that approach. It's not the approach I recommend, but if you think that would work better for you, then go for it. I recommend taking the practice exams early because it gives you an idea of what to study. You can build that practice problem list to focus on. But April 1st is still good. And to be honest, I think when I took my first time practice exam, it was probably about 3 weeks out. So probably about the same amount of time. So that's still, you're still doing everything right. So if you feel it's better for you, then 100% I will support you with that. Alvin said, besides NCES, what other references would you recommend? PPI is not really effective for me, says Alvin. There's a lot of good other ones out there. I'm not going to talk bad about anyone else's product because I think different versions of different products resonate better with other people, but there definitely is a lot of different material out there. If you hop on engineering boards, there's a lot of recommended stuff on there. I've got a great article that I put time into that talks about the recommended practice exams and books that I recommend, but I'm not going to talk good or bad about anyone on this webinar. I want all of you to have the best unbiased perspective. Now, index of troublemakers. So I hope that each and all of you, especially those that have watched the How to Pass series, but maybe not all of you watched it, I hope each and every one of you, the number one or the first sheet in your binder, right, your reference binder that you're going to take with you to the exam, I hope you have an index of the troublemaker problems. In other words, every time you get stuck on a problem and you're just spinning your wheels and running in circles and you're pulling your hair out or you feel like you're hitting your head against a wall, write it down. write down where it is, where to find it, and what topic. Maybe NEC practice exam from so-and-so author, page number 2. Write it down. Keep that list. What I don't want you guys doing is I don't want you spending days and days and days stuck on one problem, because even if you see that same exact problem and you get it right on the exam, what about all the other types of problems you could have learned in that time frame? Another thing is, the more practice problems you do, the better at it you're going to get. You're going to start to connect those underlying dots that may be holding you back from a problem that you're stuck on today. So every time, that's what I call the troublemakers. Every time you get stuck and you're it's frustrating. When you get frustrated, write it down, move on, and then come back to it later. Maybe when you have about 10 problems on that troublemaker list, you can spend your weekend working on those, right? That's also an excellent thing to do when you do take a timed practice exam, right? Rank them, the difficult ones, and list them in order. After that, you'll kind of get your idea of, wow, I didn't get a single question right that had to do with transformers. I know I really need to spend time in transformers, right? The goal to passing is doing well in as many areas as possible and not doing well on a super hard question on a very specific topic that you might not even see. So keep that in mind. When to cover new material and when to review weaker areas. We kind of talked about that. My approach, what I recommend, is try to paint with the broadest paintbrush when you can, aka cover a wide variety of questions when you can, especially from sample exams. And then when you need to focus in and zero in, laser your focus, spend it just on one topic. Now, of course, we can't always do that. A lot of times, like, especially I know my quizzes right now are per chapter. I would say go through when you can. When you get stuck, note it, write it down, and then kind of come back to all the ones you get stuck on later. You don't want to get stuck on one topic. Next, you have a study plan mapped out. A lot of you have sent me your diagnostic sheets, and I've sent them back and kind of talked about each topic. I hope each of you, do you know your weak area? Does everyone know what area they need to focus on? It's kind of ties into the question we asked on the very beginning on the introduction. Next, are you auditing how productive you are at the end of each session? Here's a good time to kind of take a break and give my voice a slight break. Go ahead, let me know in the chat who is auditing their study sessions and how are you doing that? And if you're not sure what I'm talking about, that's fine to ask too. And so Rob said, the biggest challenge I find is navigating through several topics, going over the practice problems in one area, but then kind of forgotten what I studied in a separate topic, how to tackle this issue. So Rob, one of the things that really helps me is we have the most time we typically have is on the weekends. That's when we can get the bulk of our studying. But then during the weeknights, during the evenings after work, we only have an hour or two. So it's hard to really cover a lot of ground in an hour or two. But I find that even just an hour of review, right? Keeping my notes organized, I find that an hour in the evenings of going over everything I did on the weekend, I can do it in just about an hour. And that extra repetition really helps make things stick. So I would recommend that approach. Take the time when you only have an hour or two. Don't forget, even just going through your notes, working another practice problem or tracing it out with a pen, it's still going to be valuable to you. Okay. Who here can tell me, are you auditing how productive you are at the end of each session? Are you taking into account, man, I feel like I got beaten up, or wow, I made a lot of ground today. How you feel is a great indicator. There's going to be some days that no matter how rigid and disciplined you are, there's going to be some days when you just don't get as much done. And there's going to be some days when you knock it out of the park when you weren't expecting to. But generally, we definitely want that to increase. All right, next slide. So we talked about keys 1 through 3. We talked about our mindset, the number of hours we're putting in, and what you do during those hours. Now, let's talk about how we take the exam. All right, I'm going to take a quick sip of water. Okay, so we're going to answer these together one at a time. So everyone, if you haven't jumped in the chat yet, now is a great time too. Although a lot of you have been really engaged, and I thank you for that. Who can answer me yes or no? Do we take the exam in one pass? Do we open our exam And do we solve every question we can in the order that we see them from start to finish? Good. Seeing a lot. Julia said, no way. There you go, Julia. That's a spirit. Catherine said 6 passes. You know what? If that's what it must be, then do it. I think I probably had about 5 or 6. So I agree with you. Good. Everyone said no. Omar said no. Everyone's saying no. Good. So there's 34 participants, and I'm only seeing about the same 24 people. So come on, everyone that's participating. This is not a TV show. Hop in the chat, and if you don't know the answer, no one's gonna bark at you here. If you don't know the answer, it's perfectly fine to say, hey, I don't know, Zach. That's why I'm listening in on this webinar. I'm hoping I can learn from you and everyone else. So everyone knows we don't take it. So Rob said, obviously not, ! Exactly. So everyone knows we don't do it in one pass. That's the oldest trick in the book. Everyone knows every answer is worth the same amount of points. So of course we want to get all of the gimme problems, all of the easy ones, all of the ones that are our favorite ones to do, the ones we're the best at. We want to knock those out of the park. Now, the best way to do this, in my opinion, you're going to have a Scantron, okay? You're going to have 40 questions in the morning. You're going to have a break. You're going to have 40 questions in the afternoon. If you know the answer, if you're 80% confident, go ahead, bubble it in. If you see something that just makes your eyes pop out or go, what? Skip it. Skip the page, skip the problem. Don't bubble anything in. If you see something where it's like, you know what? I know it's either A or B. It's either one or the other ones. Go ahead and bubble it in lightly. Bubble it in lightly so you can tell the difference between a regular bubble. That way, on your second pass, maybe you want to get to those lighter shaded ones that you're about 50-50 on before you tackle the hard one, right? Maybe you feel more confident you'll be able to narrow down that one answer. So that's another great strategy. 4 hours doesn't seem like a lot of time, but don't be discouraged about going through multiple passes. Cynthia said 6 passes. I had about the same. Don't get discouraged. Every pass, every wave on that exam, you're going to bubble more and bubble more and bubble more. And I think the last session for me, both the morning and afternoon, the last 15 minutes, I think I was stuck on like 3 problems, So definitely don't do it in one pass. Next, when we're done with the exam, we're going to turn it in, right? Who can answer me in the chat? When we're done, we're going to turn in our exam. Cynthia said no, capitals. A lot of nopes, no's, no ways, no's. Good. Now I got your attention. Good. What about, we've got 15 minutes left. Everything's bubbled in. We more or less think honestly, you really think that you have every answer as correct as you think it could be. And there's 15 minutes left. You're tired. You're stressed out. It's the second session. Then do we turn it in? Who can tell us? Then do we turn it in? No, right? Heck no. Heck no. The only currency we have to spend in the exam room is time. So why, oh why, would we give any currency away for free? I guarantee there's going to be 1 or 2 questions. I promise. Every single person in this room, I promise. You're going to go back. You're going to check your work. And you are going to jump out of your chair because you realized you forgot a conjugate. You got an angle either positive or negative when it should have been the opposite for leading or lagging. There's going to be something so simple, or you're stressed and you accidentally you didn't recognize your own handwriting and you added a 7 when you should have added a 1, or you wrote KVAR when you should have wrote KW. I promise everyone in the room, you're going to have that. So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you're the last person in the room. It doesn't matter if everyone is getting up and turning in their exams. You know that those guys, sorry about your luck to everyone doing that, but all of us, we know better. We're going to use every single second, right? What's the difference? Who can tell me what's the difference between passing and failing? And Swarb said, isn't the third choice always a lucky one? Sometimes. So how about this? And then that'll tie in that point. We'll move on to the next one. Who can tell me, what's the trick question? What's the difference between passing or failing? Who can tell me what is the difference between passing and failing? It's a trick question. If you overthink it, you're not going to get it right. Who can tell me? Jonathan said they don't let you get up with 15 minutes left in Maryland, so it's not too distracting. Jonathan, I think you're right. No, I think you're absolutely right. Yep, I think you're right. So who can tell me? I'm looking for, someone's got to give me at least a couple of answers. Who can guess? How about that? Who can guess what is the difference between passing or failing? What's the difference? No takers? No guesses? Not even one? Alex, thank you. Alex got it. Alex said the difference between passing and failing might be one answer. Yeah, that's it. That's the difference between passing and failing. The difference between passing and failing is one more right answer. Who else? Elosion. I hope I said that right. You said more effort, more chance to pass. Sure. Craig, about getting 70% correct. Yeah, that's what generally everyone speculates. Jonathan said getting too many problems wrong. Sure. But in general, right, the black and white answer, the difference between passing and failing, it's just the difference between one single answer, one more right answer. So we're going to use every single second that we have. All right. Who can tell me about, you're going to take your 3 best books, right? You're going to take the NEC. You're going to maybe take a book like Wildy, and then you're going to take a practice exam. And then obviously you're going to take your study binder, right? About 3 books. Who can tell me? You're going to take about 3 books to the exam? Zach said nope. Zach Shepard said nope. Ali said wrong. Daryl said no. Tony said more. Bernie said all of them. Omar said take them all. Denial, I hope I'm saying that right, said a suitcase of books. Bo said a refrigerator full. More, not too many. Whatever you can carry, more. Awesome. Good. Swarb said, actually, what is typically a passing percent? Swarb, it's people speculate about 70%, but they don't give that away. They don't tell you. Good. Everyone did not fall for my obvious trick. Bring every single freaking book that you have. I saw people with mobile suitcases. Alex said even the FU books. Yeah, take them. I saw people, I kid you not, that had mobile pop-up bookshelves on wheels. I had about 15 books. Of those, I probably opened about 8 or 9. I used the heavier books and I laid them flat as the bookends. People brought bookends. If you have it, take it. Please spend some time looking through your references. One thing I would have done personally differently, I say it all the time. You'll hear me talking about it all the time. I love Wildy's book. I think it's the best. I didn't know how good it was until after the exam. You know how I figured out how good it was? I answered at least 8 questions correctly. Questions I had no idea about. Those really tough theory ones where it's like choose most nearly, where the answer was almost word for word when I found the right sentence in that book. I wish I would have taken the time to read through it a little bit. Craig said, what book is that? It's Wildy. Let me look at my bookshelf. Let's see. It's Electrical Machines, Drives, and Power Systems by Theodore Wildy. I've got there's a blog post on the main website, electropereview.com. And there's a link right to it on Amazon. It's fantastic. Wildy, side note, Wildy is brilliant. He was in, I think, Alberta or somewhere in Canada. It's essentially his life's work. It's before our time when people were still figuring this stuff out. He literally compiled that volume and revised it every single time over his lifetime. Awesome. Yep, that's the one. Electrical Machine Drives, Power Systems, Wildy. Yep, that's it. Yeah, just like Alvin said, super book. Man, I use it all the time in my career too. It's fantastic. It's straightforward. It's just technical enough. It's fantastic. So yeah, bring all your references. Someone said worth the money. Yeah. Another thing is too, so Zach said $10. Get whatever edition you can. They don't really change that much. So I think the brand new, the latest edition is probably like $300. And I bet if the publisher was listening in, they wouldn't be happy with me saying this. But on Amazon, you can find the used book all the time. I've got a huge engineering library. A lot of that is, it's purchasing the used book. But be very, 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 very careful. Everyone in here, if you're going to buy it used, check the shipping dates on Amazon, because usually the used books are sold by third-party shippers, and a lot of times they don't make the ship dates. So be careful. Even if it's $20, it's useless if it gets here even one day after the PE exam. Be careful. All right, moving on. A lot of great discussion. Love seeing the engagement in the chat room. Moving on. Now, what's another tactic? Everyone knows about eliminating the obviously wrong answers, right? One thing to watch out for is the PE exam is known for leaving an answer in the answer key that's one step away from the correct answer. What do I mean by that? Say we're doing a per unit problem and we're working in per units throughout, and the last question is find the total current. Say the per unit value is like 2, and then when we multiply it by the base to get the actual amps, and amps say it's like 5, they're going to put that 2 as like A, B, C, or D, and they're going to say 2 amps. So if you're working through it and you forget to multiply by the base and you see 2 amps, you're going to go, that's it. That's the right answer. You're going to bubble it. You're going to bubble it dark because you think it's right, and you're going to move on. Be careful. Everyone in here knows better. Write down your units. Please, 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 please write down your units starting today while you're practicing if you haven't already. Get in the good habit of it. Watch out for those very tricky answers. However, say if there's an answer that has the wrong unit completely, well, then that's fair game. Scratch it off. You've just greatly improved your chances of even guessing the right answer. Next, who can tell me? How about this? We know that getting the answer incorrectly is worth more than leaving it blank and turning it in. So we know that if we're really not sure, we know to leave it blank. Who here agrees or disagrees? Let me know in the chat. Zach Shepard said never. Who agrees with Zach Shepard? Selena said when in doubt, choose C. Who else? Allie said guess. Good job, Allie. Who else? If we don't know it, if we're sure we're going to probably get it wrong, do we leave it blank? If we're working in the last 15 minutes and then all of a sudden we've got 30 seconds, if we've got 5 blank answers that we might not even have time to go back to, are we at least going to guess? Good. A lot of good answers. Absolutely. ZL said 25% chance of correct if guess. Yes. So an incorrect answer is worth the same amount as a blank answer. If you've got 30 seconds left, if you've got 5 unbubbled questions, even if you don't have enough time to go back to them, just bubble them in, okay? If there's 4 answers and you randomly guess at 4 questions, chances are you're going to get at least 1 right. So point of the story is everyone knows that we're going to be better than that. We're not going to leave a single question blank. All right, next. All of us in here are expert test takers. We are expert mathematicians, so we don't need to show all of our work. Who agrees? And by now, I hope everyone is starting to notice the trend on these questions. ZL said no in capitals. Patrice said no. Alex and Daryl say no. Who else? Who agrees? We're all expert mathematicians. We're fantastic electrical engineers. We don't need to show our work. Uh-oh, we got Elosion. You said yes. Careful. Selena, good job. Selena said write everything down. Yes. Write everything down. Show your work. Please write the subscripts. If it's a vector, if it's a complex phasor, draw the little phasor hat above it. If it's a magnitude, draw the brackets. If it's a phase value, draw the little p. If it's a line value, draw the little L. If it's 3-phase power, draw the subscript 3-phase. You're going to be stressed. You're going to be rushed. You're going to be you're going to be panicking a little bit. You're all going to have at least some anxiety, maybe more than others, but you're all going to be in a heightened state. We want to protect ourselves. We want to do everything in our power to eliminate any silly mistakes because we've worked way, way too hard to give up an answer that we should have gotten right because we wrote it down. We forgot to write, say, single phase for some reason. We thought it was 3-phase and we picked up the wrong formula. Please show all of your work. Never feel like you don't have time to show your work. That is one of the biggest myths out there. If you're not showing your work yet, start now. You'll notice a drastic improvement on your practice problems just by showing your work. And the benefit of that is when you go back and check your work, it's so much easier to check your work when you've shown all the steps. It's so much easier to see, oh crap, I need a negative sign there versus I guess I multiplied that out. And then when you need to correct your work, it's very easy to rewrite it. Show your work. How about diagrams? So we only need our diagrams. Someone said, plus you should use your solved problems as a reference. Definitely, Jonathan. So diagrams. We only need diagrams if we're not really sure, right? We can use them if we think we need them, or when do we draw the diagrams? If we've got like a synchronous motor circuit, or even if it's just drawing a transformer and writing the transformer ratings next to it, when do we always have to do that? We're expert mathematicians, right? We don't need to do that, right? Write it down every chance you get. Even if it's just a phasor diagram, you're going to catch yourself. Alvin said all the time, it really helps to GPS our thoughts. That's a neat way of saying that. I've never heard that before. I might steal that for the future. Yeah, Alvin, I agree 100%. It really helps to organize our thoughts. It's going to let us know when we're about to make a giant mistake. And what's the difference between passing and failing again? Just one problem. Now, who can tell me what are some things you should bring to the exam room? Who should tell me? What are some things you should bring into the exam room? Go ahead. Seat cushion. Yeah, maybe. Zach said calculator. Yep. How many calculators should you bring, Zach? Zach Shepard, how many calculators should you bring? ZL said approved calculator. Yep. Omar said 2 calculators. Yep. Snacks. Okay, seeing a lot of 2 calcs. Absolutely. 2 calculators. Most calculators are solar. What happens if, for whatever reason, you've been too rough on yours, right? Maybe you've just done one too many practice problems. You're out of luck. If that thing doesn't work for any reason, you're out of luck. And one more note about calculators. Does everyone in here have a calculator? And you don't have any excuse if you don't, because calculators are $20 on Amazon Prime. Does everyone have a calculator that can automatically do the rectangular and polar conversions? Like, in other words, can you take your calculator, can you type in a rectangular number, hit the plus sign and type in a polar number, and then get the answer in either polar or rectangular, depending on what you want? Does everyone in here have that? If you don't, they're $20. Don't risk it. Don't risk it. It saves you time. And I was a purist. I used to think, man, you need to know how to do that on your own. I took the exam without it. Sure, I passed. I didn't get one until I have the TI 36X Pro, which in my opinion, I like the best. Some people like the Casio, and that's okay too. I only got that after the exam. Boy, was I wrong. Learn from my mistake. If you don't already have either the TI 36X Pro or the Casio, that can do it too. Get it. It's $20. Chances are you already have Amazon Prime. It'll be on your doorstep in 2 days, and I promise it'll put a smile on your face. It's so much easier to convert back and forth. What else? Craig said, I figured this out last night on my calc and was amazed. Yeah, Craig, what calculator do you have, Craig? Do you have the TI or the Casio? I'm guessing you have the one that can do that. The Casio, good. Yeah, it's fantastic. I'm gonna scroll up really quick because I missed a couple of answers. Someone said snacks. Yep, bring snacks. So how about this? Is the exam, if you eat really healthy, is the exam the time to experiment with eating high sugar snacks like candy and chocolate? If you're a health nut, is that the time to eat snacks and candy? Zach Shepard said no. How about, wow, Selena said New York does not allow food or drinks. That's terrible. That's terrible. Illusion says the Casio FX 115. Yes. Yep. That's the one that will do the conversion. Bo said the TI 36X Pro is more intuitive. I agree with Bo. The TI-36X Pro, if you grew up in the American school system, chances are you used the text instruments calculator. But the good news, guess what? They're both only $20 on Amazon Prime, and you can probably even return one. Best of bet, order them both. Spend the money. Worst case scenario, send back the one you don't like or use the other one as backup. Okay, how about if you are a junk food guy or gal and you love M&Ms and chips and you get that crash coming around at 2 p.m. before the clock hits 5 and you look for the pack of Starburst, is the exam the day to decide I'm going to get healthy? Is that the day you're going to decide to snack on almonds and just water? No, right? All right. Everyone's entitled to their personal beliefs and opinions about what they put in their body, but the exam day is not the time to experiment with that. So just business as usual. Eat what you eat. Same thing with coffee. I love caffeine. I love coffee. I love energy drinks. If you are someone that is questionably or not even questionably, if you're dependent on caffeine, if you're hooked on caffeine like I am, make sure you bring enough. Bring extra. You can always drink it tomorrow, but if you don't have it in the exam room, you can't drink it. So Rob said, what about 5-hour energy drink? Recommended. Same advice as the snacks. Go ahead. If you're not sure, experiment, right? No one can answer that, but everyone has adverse reactions. Try some on your next study break. If you like it, use it. If you don't, better learn now than at the exam. I brought one 5-hour energy to the exam and I sipped it very slowly. It was probably the last time I think I've had one of those, but at the time I was using them from time to time. So, but yeah, on caffeine, be careful. Remember, it's going to make you use the bathroom. So keep that in mind. Using the bathroom is very time consuming. You've got to like turn in your material. They got to check you out, patch it down, whatever. It's time consuming. So be careful. But if you're a caffeine junkie like I am, if you don't bring enough or you bring as much as you think you're going to need and you don't have what you need, you're going to crash and it's not going to be fun. You're going to have heightened anxiety. You're going to panic. Cognitively, you're not going to be firing on all cylinders. So bring enough. Bo said, I don't recommend coffee with energy drinks. Too much caffeine can make your heart race and your mind rush and make stupid mistakes. I agree 100%. Definitely. I would say, here's my general advice. Whatever you currently use to get through tough study problems, take that, but consider taking just a little more in case you do need the extra push. And the golden rule from the Timothy Leary days, I'm sure some of you might know, is you can always take more, but you can never take less. What about if I'm used to a 10-minute power nap after lunch? Hey, Mary, I mean, what you do on that break in between the morning and afternoon's up to you. They let us go to our car. Maybe some sites are different, but yeah, if you want a power nap, set the alarm. Don't sleep through the afternoon session. All right. How about, who can tell me in the chat, what should you not bring? Oh, and someone did say earplugs. I forgot. Yes, I would bring earplugs, especially if you work in the industry or you make field visits from time to time. Chances are you have earplugs. I forget who it was, but on a private webinar session, someone said there was like planes flying overhead or there's a baby in the room next to him. Bring earplugs. All right. You can't bring headphones. Bring earplugs. You never know what's going to happen. You never know. They're like $2. All right. So what not to bring? Phone. Yep. Pets. Yeah. I know all of you love your fur babies, but no pets. No smartwatch. Good job, Omar. There's a thread on the engineering boards forum where I believe someone got kicked out for wearing a Fitbit. A Fitbit, all it does, I think, is it tells the time and it counts like how many steps and calories you burn. That was considered like a digital smartwatch. And that person was, I think, expelled or something. So no smartwatch, no Fitbit, no Jawbone. Zach Shepard, no weapons. Yeah, I hope no one needs a reminder. But hey, if you're in an open carry state or if you've got your permit, no weapons, leave it in the vehicle. No loose leaf papers. Fantastic, Selena. Is everyone here? So take a break from the chat for a minute. I love the engagement, but does everyone know that loose leaf papers are actually not permitted in the exam room? And depending on some proctors, they'll let you throw it out. Other proctors will boot you immediately. They will flip through all of your books. Do not bring loose leaf papers, no stapled packets. Everything needs to have 3 holes in it and 3 rings through it. Please be careful. I would feel terrible if we didn't talk about that and someone got kicked out and all of your hard work was for nothing. I mean, you and I would probably spend the next 6 months together, but I don't want something silly to happen like that. No phone. When I took it, I just left mine in the car, but there was like a big table that they left them out front. They could have walked off and grown legs. Leave your phone in your car. No smartwatches yet. We covered that. If you have that brand new shiny Apple Watch and you love it, please don't bring it. It's gonna make you panic. What else? The test hall smelled like pancakes during the morning exam. That had to be frustrating. I love pancakes. No data gathering. Yep. No post-it notes. Yeah, you can't bring your own pencil. Everyone knows that. No writing utensils. They'll supply you with mechanical pencils that have erasers. Denial. I hope I'm saying your name right. I've actually never seen it spelled that way. Denial said a kid pulled out his phone right after he turned in his test, automatically failed. Yikes. Yep. Don't bring your phone into the exam room, please. Mary said, what about spiral bound notebooks? Yeah. Spiral bound? I don't think so, because spiral bound can be ripped out. I know for sure 3-ring binder has many of them. Just buy a bunch of binders on Amazon. They're pretty cheap. Bind them, throw them in. AHS said no problem with spiral bound. So that's a good one. I'm curious. I'm going to have to check. Jonathan said read the NCS examining guide. It has all the details. Yep. All right. What else? Now, what about the age-old argument of hotel versus commuting? Who wants to give me some pros and cons on booking a hotel versus commuting? Who commuted and wished they would have booked a hotel? Who booked a hotel and said, this is expensive. I'm not going to do it next time. Jonathan got a hotel. Jonathan, do you like it? Do you recommend it? Are you going to do it again? Omar said no commute. Jonathan said way worth it. Only $100. Alvin said hotel. Definitely. Ali commuted. So looks like just about everyone is commuting. Good. Arturo said a 45-minute drive should be okay. Arturo, I would caution you. A lot can happen on a 45-minute drive. About once a year, I'm late to work big time because of an accident. I'm sure everyone in here has experienced that. Arturo, be careful. I would hate to hear that you were late because of something you can't control. Flat tire, car issue, someone else's car issue. Be careful. You don't necessarily have to book. I think the exam rooms are usually more expensive for the exams that are in the hotel. But the exams that are in like the conference room of a hotel, if you want to spend the extra money, you can treat yourself. You can go there a day early, hang out by the pool, just relax. Or you can just book like across the street. I think it's well worth it. It's just so less stressful. It's just one less thing to worry about. We have so much to worry about. It's just one less thing. Good. Okay. All right. Let me see. I think that might be all the slides I have. So Q&A. Feel free. I'd love for each of you to jump in, ask away. Anything we covered, anything we didn't cover, lingering questions, different approaches, past experiences. Loving the group engagement on the chat. We all want to use our experiences to our advantage. So feel free to ask away. 100% open Q&A. If you want to ask about the course, pretty much ask anything except for a specific topic, because we'll go into detail on the topics later on. Craig said, Zach, what is your schedule on these live classes and chats? Right now, I'm shooting for Wednesday. I'm on the East Coast, so for me, we start at 8:30 p.m. I'm shooting for Wednesday. I don't want to do Fridays. I don't want to do Mondays. Mondays tend to be the most stressful time for adjusting for the weekend. Friday, everyone's mind is on something else. Wednesdays is a pretty good hump day because then you only have about 2 days left in the week. I might change it if I get a lot of feedback, but I don't know. I'm liking Wednesdays so far. Whatever we do, it's going to be the same time. I can tell you that because there's still a good deal of you are all the way on the Pacific Coast. So to get as many people as we can, it'll probably be about the same. What else? Anyone else have any more questions? Trying to think. It's a great showing. We have almost about 50% attendance rate. How is this software? This is a Zoom software. How was this webinar experience so far? Is my voice clear? Can you guys hear me as clear as when I'm talking on the recorded videos? I've got an HD microphone, so it should be coming through. Good, very clear, good. The screen and presentation is that clear? It should be pretty high def. When we do, good, that's good. When we do the actual, when we start covering topics, what I'm going to do is instead of having the black background like my videos, I've been test driving some new software. It's called Notability. It lets me export PDFs when we're done. You'll notice let me in the chat. Who here has watched some of the recent webinars? I think I did one. I posted. What were the ones I posted on? I'm trying to think. The recent ones. Transformers, I think, was one. Zach said one of the better webinars. Good. Yeah, power factor correction. So who here, did all of you download those notes from the power correction, excuse me, the power factor correction webinar? Did all of you download that PDF? I'm getting better at it. So what I'm going to do is I'll be spacing everything out like one problem a page when we do actually work out live problems. Alvin said, no, how do I do it? Alvin, if you hop in the course, if you click on bonus material, go to the power factor correction webinar, that video, and there should be a link that says something like download the show notes. And literally it's all of the markings that I did with my graphics tablet during the show at the very end. So it's like 100% compiled. Yeah, it's tremendous. I'm really happy with it. So what we'll do is I'm going to send out the webinar invites the same way. Since I've been actually test driving a bunch of different webinar software, and I like this one the best. The actual link to join it will be sent out much further in advance. I'm going to start including it in the calendar invite, and then just like sending simple reminder emails. So you won't have to wait till the last minute like we did today, but it'll be pretty handy. What else? And I just want to remind everyone, so we do have a finite time to spend on webinars. I'm typically good for about 2 hours. After about 2 hours, you can probably hear my voice already is getting kind of raspy. But what I don't want anyone to think that in those 2 hours, we're going to cover everything from top to bottom on those topics. Essentially, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to announce which ones we're going to work on a week before. That way you can work it too and you can prepare your questions. But it'll be pretty much me 2 hours telling you what I think are the most important things to touch on and what people tend to make the biggest mistakes on. So you'll still need to practice a good deal on your own, but I think the supplemental live class will definitely give you a very strong nudge in the right direction. So I'm trying to think about what else. Boot camps. I've been getting a lot of question about boot camps. So the two boot camps that I included in the subscription costs, it's the circuit analysis and the power fundamentals. I'm about halfway done with the power fundamentals. I'm actually going to try to finish it either tonight or tomorrow. I did put a price tag in there. Don't sign up. What I'm going to do is I'm going to send out a coupon code so that each of you, everyone that's subscribed, you'll be able to join the boot camps free of charge. They're actually coming out fantastic. I think it's some of the best work I've put together. Swarb said, what are some of the more accurate practice tests? Check out, Alvin said, you're the best. Thank you, Alvin. A lot more goes into this than you can imagine. This is a lot of hours in, but it's totally worth it, and I love it. So Swarb, to answer your question, what are some of the more practice tests other than the NCES? Check out that. Maybe I can drop a link to that article. Let me see. I've got an article on the main page that pretty much has just about all of the best ones based off kind of group consensus. A lot of feedback from other people, feedback from the engineering boards. So I'm going to pull up this article. I'm going to drop the link directly in the chat. And in the article too, it has direct links to Amazon. So it's really easy to buy them. And again, remember, buy used when you can. You're already spending a lot of money, but watch out for those shipping dates. Okay. You don't want to buy it and then have it get here after the exam. Then it's just going to be a waste of money. Another thing too, is if you hop on the engineering boards, a lot of times people sell them for cheaper. Let me see. Here we go. Okay, so I'm dropping the link here in the chat. This is where I ranked. The only thing I don't have on there is I don't have a protection book just yet. I like I'm not sure how to pronounce the author's name. Actually, it's like Slevia. He's really good. GE publishes a book called Art and Science of Protective Relay. They're both good. But yeah, everything in those recommended articles, those are my favorites. And they're also, I talk about the ones that I'm not crazy about too, just to be as unbiased as possible, because some people are going to do better with other books than others. Let's see. Craig said, I agree with Alvin. Zach, I went through the PPI class last year and it was terrible. So at least you're better than that. Well, thank you. I try. I was frustrated when I took the P exam. We're all smart people. We shouldn't be digging through books just to get the right answer, right? We need all the time we get to study. Alvin said, I really appreciate this effort, Zach. Very happy. Good. Very glad. Bo said, Zach, is there a way to make your topic lecture more printer friendly? Whenever I print the HTML page, the sentences are broken up. Looks ragged. Bo, send me an email. Anyone having trouble? I designed the course so you can print it, so you can print the references. I want you to take my references to the PE exam. That's part of it. I write the formulas in a way that includes all the subscripts, the superscripts, the hats for the vectors, the brackets for the magnitudes, because I get so frustrated with authors that don't do that. You don't know what formula they're using. So yeah, if you're having trouble, 100%, I designed it. I want you to print it. I want you to put it in your binder and take it with you. Everyone in here has my email address, right? If you are having a printing issue, email me, please. I want you to be as prepared as possible. Those notes are for you. Who else? Swarb said, school PE was terrible too. The guy just read from slides. Yeah, this is one of the only times you'll see me reading from slides. I like to do everything live. I like to use my tablet. It's Swarb, we did a couple of webinars together. You know how I do it. Allie said, Zach, for next week, when will you post the topics of the discussion so we can practice and bring questions? Allie, give me a couple of days and I'll decide what we're going to talk about. Obviously, we're not going to have time to talk about everything, but next week we probably will do power, just because I'm completing the power boot camp now, and I think it's an area where people make the most mistakes. So next week we most likely will do power, but by Friday I should have that calendar invite. So that's 2 days. Yeah, let's say by Thursday or Friday I'll get that calendar invite out, and we'll do power. We'll do 3-phase and single phase power next week. And then each week I will try to pick it a week ahead of time, so that by the time the day following the previous class, I'll have the invite out and the topic announced. That way you all have plenty of time to prepare. Who else? Mary said, do you recommend just going practice problems even if I haven't covered all theory? Yeah. To be honest, you're going to learn the best by doing. Don't be afraid to do some practice problems. In fact, you might want to try doing practice problems before you even touch on the theory, believe it or not. It'll give you a chance to use your brain to think, and you're going to remember it better that way. Yeah, don't be afraid of jumping on practice problems without the theory first. You're going to learn by doing. As long as you have the solutions, that's perfectly okay. Craig said, I've been printing them, saving to PDF, and then printing. It breaks at weird points in the page. Yeah, that's going to be, that is what it is. I designed it to continue scroll, not be separate pages. So, but that's not a biggie. Jonathan said, for the spin up, the electrical engineer P exam practice test, I read the review that it wasn't that good. I have the complex imaginary. How would you compare it worth the 150? I'm going to try to be unbiased. So I'll let you guys discuss about which tests you like, but, in all fairness to other authors, I'm going to try to be unbiased. ZL said, can you let us know what you won't cover before April? We can start doing that ourselves and ask questions when we run into them. Sure. That's a good point. That's going to be very difficult because it's going to be hard for me to anticipate. I will do my best though. Yeah, that's a good point. I'm guessing ZL Zachary Lee. Zachary, I will try to do my best on that one in fairness to you. And I'm glad you mentioned that. That's a really good point. All right. What else? Appreciate it. No problem. It's about 10:19 p.m. here on the East Coast. We can hang out for a couple more minutes. Any other questions about the course, about the strategy we covered tonight, about the live sessions, about the boot camp? Anything at all? I'll keep it open for a few more minutes. If not, I will hop on cam and we'll say our goodbyes. Swarb said, is the morning session typically easier than the afternoon? I've heard things saying one's an in-depth, one's more broad, but I've never seen anything from NCES on that standpoint. So I'm not really sure. I think it just depends. Tony said, please solve the problems in NCES. Yeah, Tony, thank you for bringing that up. So here's what I'm trying to do. There's a review course out there that includes the solutions to the NCES. But in the price of the course, they also provide you an NCES book. Here's the issue. I've been wanting to do that for a while. My goal, so there's 80 questions in the NCES. My goal, what I'm working on is I want to have a video solution for each NCES problem. In other words, have like a mini boot camp solving each one of those on cam. There's a copyright issue. It's an expensive issue. My legal team is looking into it for me. If I can solve the NCES practice problems without doing anything, without any copyright violation. In other words, if I can do it, if NCES is okay with it, I would be happy to. In fact, I really want to. So unfortunately, that probably won't be, if that does come about, it's probably not going to be until after the April exam, just because of the timing of everything. Lighting questions. I don't think I've done a module on that yet. I'll probably kick one out pretty soon here. It won't be too much. Right now, so modules, I'm working on power electronics, that whole chapter. Next, I'm moving on to protection because a lot of people are having trouble with that. And then from there, I'm just going to cherry pick what I think is most important. So Alvin said, are you covering engineering economy? I wasn't planning on doing a live session on engineering economy because it's a subcategory. I could, if you guys want to. I actually teach engineering economics for as a private education company that focuses on kids in Toronto. I'd be happy to do a live session on engineering economics. Engineering economics tends to be really tricky until you get familiar with the cash flows. The videos and the modules, I think, do a pretty good job. Yeah, I'd be more than happy on doing it if everyone agrees. The only downside is that's such a specific subcategory. It's not even a chapter, that our time might be more well worth covering a broader area. So it's up to you guys. I mean, these sessions are for you. So let me know. Daryl said, last April exam had the exact problem within the NCS practice exam, word for word over illumination. Wow. E. Gutierrez. Wow, I think it's the first time you've jumped in. She said, will the smaller sections be cover example, voltammeters, medium ground resistance, testing? E. Gutierrez, I'm going to try to do, it depends. I'm going to do the best use of our time based off of what's going to prepare you the most. A lot of the subcategories, they're pretty simple, and your time to prepare for them is going to be nowhere near as long as the other ones. So I'm really going to try to prepare you as much as possible. But if there's something in specific you want me to touch on, I'd be happy to. Just send me an email. I'll take anything into consideration. Ali said, the videos are really helpful for the engineering economy. Thank you. I put a lot of time to them. Denial said, are you going to create an illumination module? Yep, that is one of the remaining ones that's on my schedule to do. AHS, same for power quality. Swarb said, is there a good guide to prepare for NESC? It's such a broad topic. So actually, that's a good point. I'm glad you brought it up. NCS, it's very broad, but those questions are going to be easy. It's going to be nowhere near as the nowhere near as the National Electric Code, excuse me. I would say best bet for the NESC. It's expensive, but it's been proven over a couple of times. You need the book. The questions they're going to ask you are going to be from inside the book. In the past, people have mentioned being able to get away with just bringing the table of contents. The questions, believe it or not, were just like, what chapter is this in NESC? And you can answer it that way. But now it's like a really specific detail. So unfortunately, the book is pretty expensive. But if you can get your hands on a rented copy or borrow from your workplace or talk to your boss, I would do that. I wouldn't spend a whole lot of time preparing for the NESC. You're probably going to see two questions on it that you're going to pass your first time around, and you're going to come back to on your third or fourth pass, and you're just going to take the time to, look through the index and find it. So I wouldn't spend too much time on that. E. Gutierrez and Danielle and Swarb said, thank you. You guys are very welcome. Good question, Mary. She said, I hope that's a girl. Mary said, would the NESC 1997 version work? If you've got it, bring it. That's pretty dated. So that's a risk. But so the NCES, it doesn't matter what code book it is. They don't adopt it for the test until a year after it's been published. I'd say that's pretty old. Yeah, I agree with Alvin. That's a risk. I mean, if it's all you got, bring it, right? But I get your hands on the newer version if you can. Anything else? Any other questions? I'm going to take a quick sip of water here. Okay, let's see. I'm going to get off screen share and get back on cam, and then we'll answer a few more questions, and then we'll call it a night. So let me see how I do this.
Okay, that's better. Let me grab the chat. Can everyone see my chat window now? I'm going to try to bring it full screen. Good. Okay, someone else said, okay, good. A lot of engagement in the chat. Swarb said, how do you best prepare for qualitative problems? You know what? I think I just closed. I had to open another tab. Hop back on the electrical PE review, hop on the main site. There's a great article I put together on how to kind of like, if you're going to piece together two different formulas to prove or disprove a relationship that I'll ask for. That's a great one. Otherwise, it's just going to be a really tricky definition problem where it's going to say like choose most nearly, and they will be worded to test you. You're going to have a couple of answers that are really similar. So be careful. Books like Wildy, I'm telling you, that Wildy book, I hope each and every one of you had the opportunity to get a copy. That book is killer for the qualitative. Bo said incidental energy calculations from NFPA 70E would be a good topic to cover. Yeah, absolutely, Bo. AHS said good webinar. Thanks. You're most welcome. VFD, Tony, Wildy is a good one. You're going to hear me say that over and over again, the Wildy book. It really is one of the best. Alvin said, when is our next class? Planned for Wednesday, same time, same channel. And I will send out the invite again so you have a calendar reminder. And I'm going to send the link out ahead of time instead of an hour before. That way you don't have to panic. Mary said, I ordered the international version from Wildy. Yeah, Mary, that'd be just fine. You might be in black and white. It might be missing a few diagrams, but yeah, that's absolutely fine. All right, 10:27. We got any more questions? We'll go to 10:30, and then we'll call it even at 2 hours. Any questions? It can be about the strategy we talked about. It can be about any of the modules left. It can be about the online coursework. Any more references? Give about 2 more minutes for any last minute questions. So now you gotta help me pronounce your name. I've never seen that before, but yeah, you're most welcome. Thank you for being a part of this. So it's actually a big deal for me going live with a subscription. So definitely thank you to everyone participating. It really means so much to me that all of you are finding it so helpful that you want to partner with me. So yeah, I'm definitely going to go above and beyond. Everything I do is for you guys. So it's I enjoy it. I enjoy it quite a bit. It's very, very rewarding. Someone said, biggest advice on finding confidence going into the exam. As far as finding it, maybe try looking under your rug or under the bed. Maybe look for where you last left it. Ali said, Zach, you mentioned a few modules you're adding. Is power electronics and protection included? Yep. So I took a break from power electronics. I published the battery section. I took a break on that to wrap up both boot camps. The power fundamentals boot camp for sure will be done, if not tomorrow, by the end of the week. Circuit analysis should just take me a couple of days. Going live with the course kind of took some time to do that. But protection is the one I'm going to tackle next after power electronics, because it's one a lot of people have had trouble with. And then from there, I'm probably going to just go off feedback from you guys or tackle what I think is most important. So Raymond said, since fault current analysis webinar got corrupted, can this be one of the topics? Sure. It's so unfortunate that audio got corrupted. I was heartbroken after the end of it. It was one of the best webinars I gave. I would be more than happy to do a webinar on fault current analysis. Again, it is a subtopic, but if that's what you guys want, send me an email. Feel free to vote. In fact, I'll send out an email and ask for what you guys want covered. How about that? Yeah, I'd be happy to talk about fault current analysis. I'll preface that by saying that it won't be different. It won't be that much different than the videos I already recorded. The benefit would be that it would be live, so you get to stop and ask questions. But 99% of what you need for fault current analysis is on those pre-recorded videos. I really made sure that I captured just about everything. Okay, it's about 10:30 here on the East Coast. Thank you so much for joining me. We got about 31 participants out of the 36 that originally joined. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for your questions. Absolutely love the engagement in the chat. Lets me know I'm doing a great job. Lets me know that you guys are really getting something out of this. So yeah, I will send out the invite. Plan on next Wednesday, same time, 8:30 p.m. on the East Coast, and adjust accordingly.
And if you have any questions from then on, feel free to email me. Particular questions on solutions. I'm about a day or two behind here or there. I'm getting a high volume. That's perfectly fine. I plan on supporting you when you need it. I'm focusing my day-to-day efforts on the content though, so don't be too distraught if I take a day or so. But if you just want to chat, if you want a general inquiry, talk about these webinars, talk about strategy, feel free to shoot me an email. I usually get to those pretty quickly within the day or so. So everyone said thank you. You're very welcome. It's been a lot of fun. It's about 10:31, so we will wrap it up, and I will see all of you next Wednesday, same time. Bye, guys. Everyone have a great night.